Hey, welcome back to Vice Grip Garage. Work continues on the 1974 Monte Carlo back here. We're building it to look like a 1970s NASCAR stock car. Now, we've already put a tremendous amount of work into this car, and most recently, we finished the body work, which was a tremendous amount of work, with the exception of a couple more coats of primer, but I'm not going to do that right now. I'm actually going to switch gears and knock out some big ticket items. Today, I'm going to be designing, bending, and installing my own roll cage, plus putting in race seats and belts. It's a ton of work, so let's get started. Now, you've seen a feller do a couple different cages on the channel already, and I've done a ton of them in the past. And normally what I do is just buy prefabricated kits, and you just notch everything up and put them together like Legos and lava staff them. Pretty straightforward and simple. Or I've had my buddy back in Minnesota do quite a few of them for me as well. But now that I've moved, I've lost that resource. And a guy figures, I think it's time I step up and learn how to do this myself. Not only will I save a tremendous amount of money in the end, but also time. So I reached out to Rogue Fabrication and got my hands on everything we'll need here to do that going forward. This is their big M625 model, so it'll bend anything from 1 inch all the way up to 2-inch pipe on a 2.5 up to 6-inch centerline radius. And I've also got a tubing notcher hanging off the back there so we can get some nice accurate notches. Now, you've seen me do that with an angle grinder, and that works just fine, and it's pretty accurate once you get good at it, but that's going to be so much faster. Do I know how to use this? Nope. Have I used it before? Nope. You're going to see me use it today, though. We'll figure it out. It looks pretty straightforward. But first, we're going to have to get the car cleaned up, get some plates down, figure out a design, measure. There's things like that, and I think I'm supposed to write stuff down, and then we're going to get to this. Also, I've got some really nice race clip seats we're going to put in here that have some nice cushion in them, because the seats in Independence, well, it's like riding in a radio flyer wagon in a dirt field. It's rough, and I ain't kidding you. It's going to be a little dark in the car today. I'm keeping the paper on because the guy's got to put a couple layers of primer on yet, but the first thing we're doing is stripping out the side panels, all the plastic in here, these guys here, because we want that post be right about here, right where this body line is. And we're going to be putting in a plate here, and then we're going to be welding the hoop to that. So we're just kind of stripping this out, going to vacuum it up, get it nice and clean. We'll put a plate in, then we can start taking our measurements, overall width, height to first bend, height to second bend, and so forth. Got some mouse houses in here, not horribly bad. It's like single wide trailer mousage. When you get into the apartment status, that's when it gets horrible. There's that little window there that goes into the quarter panel. That's where that other mouse house was. So they must have ate through that tar paper stuff to get down into there. But we'll get this vacuumed up quick and lessen the chance we get hantavirus by 13.6%. That's looking a little bit better. Gonna have to wait on the belts. We actually snapped off my bit over there and it's the only one I had, so I'm gonna have to stop by Horrible Freight to get a couple more that could snap off, and maybe one of the 9 will work. I had to cut the brackets off of the seat, unfortunately, to get that thing out, but it was already pretty well hammered. But now we can get in here and get to work. Basically, we're gonna be plating it right here on both sides, so we gotta clean all this up, figure out how big of a plate we're gonna go, and then we burn that in, make sure it's nice and solid. The frame is right underneath of this. And then that'll be our foundation for our main hoop coming up and over, basically right in here. So we got a game plan with our plate here. It won't end up being this big, but this is kind of what we're going for. The challenge was there was like a dimple, or I guess it's a pimple. I don't know. It's a shape that goes up, okay? That was in the way. So I did the right thing and just, deleted on it with the old Tanya Harding over here. A couple tickles, flattened that out. So now we'll put some steel in here, make a shape on this, cut this out, and then we'll get a nice penetrating weld all the way around here. And then this is our landing pad for that bar, so that should work pretty good. So now it's going to take a little bit. We got to get all of this cleaned up, and there's a lot of seam sealer and a little bit of rust and some goop, and they're going to be about this shape, give or take. I'm going to use the lightning scissors here and just quick torch these out and then touch them up with the flap disc. It's going to be a whole lot faster. Both these plates are knocked out. Just got to make a couple spacers really quick, and then we're good to go to get these welded in. Chad got these really nice and clean. It's kind of a pain. There was so much seam sealer and stuff in here. Got a spacer that's going to get welded down first, and then the plate comes right in like this, and we have all of this support here to weld. So this is definitely going to be strong. It's not going to go anywhere. Going to get some weldable primer and stuff down in here first too. And tricky part is welding an 1/8 plate against this old 16. It's going to be a little bit tricky to get the heat in here right, because we want some good penetration, but we'll see what I can do. There we go. Captain side and drinker side plates are in. Those will work real nice. They're nice and flat. So now we can start taking measurements in here and figuring out our heights of our bends and the angulations of the bends. And I did grab a couple extra sticks. Actually, I think one extra stick. So we've got one shot at like a test run. Maybe we'll nail it on the first one, not sure. But this Rogue fabrication machine looks pretty straightforward, and they have a ton of different videos and tech on their website. So we might gander on that for a minute, wet the back neck with a cold Snecker 12, and then come back and start bending pipe, I guess. Before we jump in and get some measurements and talk about design on this thing, I just wanted to kind of clarify the intentions of this build, because I probably confused a lot of people when I said we're building a tribute car, and that compared to a replica and a clone, and I don't know. Maybe they're all the same, not sure. I don't know. What I'm trying to do here with this build is make something that looks like or represents 70s NASCAR from 20 foot, not precisely an exact clone, I guess. So some of you might be expecting a 79-point roll cage with bars everywhere and tied into the front frame and the rear frame, and we're not doing that at all. It would be too uncomfortable to get in and out of. It just doesn't make sense. Our door's still open. Why would we bar those off, etc.? So we're just going to put in a basic, pretty much a belt or harness bar. So we're going to have a main hoop, bar going across for the belts, and then we're going to have bars going back to the trunk. So it's going to look just like the independent Chevelle, basically. It'll give us a little bit of a roll bar look through the glass of the car and give something to put our belts on and kind of make it feel a little bit more race car, but we're not going to go all out at this point. Now in the future, maybe. But again, I'm trying to save this car as a whole, so I'm not cutting things up and burning holes in the floor and the firewall and all this and that. At this point, we've repaired a lot of stuff, took out a ton of rusted rot. It's a better car structurally, and even with the wrap, if we get tired of it or it gets faded or damaged, we could peel that off, and we're 75% of the way to an actual paint job if we wanted to go that way, for example. So I just wanted to kind of clarify how we're going to end up in the end, hopefully. Now the wrap on this thing, you guys got to stay tuned, because it is mind-boggling. It is good. Some of my better work, might I add. But let's jump in here and talk about basic design. Now we guys got center to center marked on here, so we can get our width, we can get our overall height right up tight to the headliner. And I'm not going to go super tight, we're going to be down. And then we just need to figure out whatever degree this angle is here, bend, and then this will just be the difference to get us to 90. I got this cheap little tool here, and you can just set it at whatever angle and then kind of visualize it. And something right about like that, that follows this roof line. Doesn't have to be perfect. If we're off a little bit, oh well. But it's going to be somewhere between 15 and 20 degrees. So that's going to be our first bend. So now I can start laying out the pipe with all these measurements and then get it in the machine and start bending. Jessica's joining me. She's helping me load the pipe and hold everything steady, and then tape measure down this thing. I think I've got it all laid out, and this is the easiest way to do it, I guess, is get your stick out and put all of your measurements on it first, then we run it through the machine. Where this machine is different, as we're bending, the pipe's actually rolling up and it's going to be coming around. So it gets pretty hard to add measurements on this as you go. But basically I've got my first marking here, which is going to be the start of my first bend. It's 22 inches long. We're going to have a 17-degree bend, and then we just go 6 inches back. That's where the block is going to go. The block is pinned in right here, and that's what actually holds it. And when this ram extends, it tilts like this and pulls the bar around the dies. This is an 1.5 inch pipe here. I also have 1 5/8 if we ever need that someday for now, but that's how the machine works. So I guess we're going to give it a shot, see how this one turns out. I've got 2 more pipes there. One is in case we don't get it right the first time. The other one I need for the crossbar and the bars in the trunk. So we've got 1 practice run here, and then we've got to dial it in if we don't get it right, because we only got 1 shot after this. She's all clamped in. Now all of our measurements are on the top. And what I did, you can see them down here, is put this on here and zeroed it out. So as we pull the pipe through and make our bends, this clamp stays on. We pull the pipe through, put the second clamp on. We need to make sure that we don't accidentally rotate this pipe at all as we're making our bends. Otherwise our legs are going to be off on the hoop here. So that's just a measurement there that we can keep an eye on as we pull this through. And Chad had a good idea. I'm also going to score it across here. Just put a little torpedo level, make 2 marks, so we have kind of a backup way to make sure and look at this as we're drawing it through. But we're all set up. Basically going to hit it with some air and get our first bend in. Here we go now. Okay, our goal for our first bend was 17, and I mean, we're right. This keeps going 17, 17, 1. So I think that's just fine. Now we'll pull the pin, get our second block on, and that's the big, scary, most important one, a 73-degree bend. And that's going to be the first bend in our top of our hoop. Second bend done, we needed 73, we've got that. Now there's spring back. So the first time we bent it, it was actually 69.1. Then you get the difference and bend past that until you can come back to your number here. But it's going good so far. This thing makes nice bends. So next one is going to be clamped up here, and that'll be the other corner of the cage. Well, here we go, fellers. I think the guys got her. I mean, looks shape-ish that we need. So I'll pull it out and we'll stand it up, see what we got. We got it. It's exactly what we needed. Now you notice it's crooked. That's because this leg is longer than that leg. And I wasn't worried about the legs because we need them long and we're going to cut them anyway. But if a guy wanted to get this precise on both sides or know exactly how much pipe you're bending, they do the calculation for you right here. So you just take however many degrees you're bending, multiply that by 0.104, and that gives you the length of the actual bend or the tube in the bend. So you can calculate all that out and get it precise, but I'm not worried about it. Now we just got to get our overall height, make a cut, slide it in the car, and burn it in. Success. Trimmed the legs. Hoop is in the car. I'll be dipped. It slid right in. I got to trim these tabs off so I can slide it forward a little bit, but here it is. Right up perfectly across the headliner. It's got a little bit of spring back in it, but it's easy to pull in to center. I cut it 1/4 inch longer than I thought I needed to because you can always take material off. You can't add it later. A little bit tight for me. I'm going to bring it down. Probably that 1/4 inch, I guess, huh? I'll probably just do that with like a flap disc or something, or maybe set it back in the chop saw. Then We got to take this thing out, and I want to paint it first, then slide it in. Trying to heat it up a little bit in here. We've had a weird cold snap. Well, I guess that's what they call it down here. We're in the 30s is what I'm saying. And painting has been a real chore, and that's why I haven't done the final coat on the Monte yet. I got to figure out how to get it warm in the barn or wait for a warmer day, but I got some self-etching primer on here for now. Been battling on the color here, fellers. I just don't know. I've painted them before in the car. I'm gonna try it this way this time. Just got some tape back here where the other bars are gonna go, and then this is my lenolator. See, guy can get it out, get the backside, keep it off the wall. I'm thinking white, because it'll match the jams, but maybe red or blue. In the old days, like Petty's car, just as an example, everything was blue. Floor, doors, ceiling, bars, everything. They just literally push it in. They're like, Billy, make her blue. Boom. That's what happened. So we're not going to do that with this car, because it's still going to have a dash and everything like that. But just been fighting on it. Probably going to go white. This is going to shock you. Guy changed his mind. I think I'm going to go black. I don't know why. It'll tie into the floor, match the seats, I guess. And the white one in Independence basically lasted a week, and now it's just not white. It's scratched and chipped and smeared, and it doesn't look very good. Black should hide a lot of stuff, so let's do that. That's the second coat. Gonna plug the heater in, let this bake up. Now we can get to work on the bars that come into the trunk here. I gotta make some plates that are going to sit right up in there. That's where they'll come in, and we'll weld them in right there. So I got them in the vise right now. Pretty basic shape here. This sits flush to where the back of the seat was. Kind of grab the lightning scissor and just whoosh. Those are all finished up. That's what they look like sat back in the car here. Both them guys are burned in. Once we get the tube in here, then I'll come back in with some of this black trunk spray stuff, doll all that up, and that as well. I'll get some primer underneath of it first, I suppose. Well, this is all burned in. We got the same exact clearance on both sides. Turned out real nice. Now, one of the trickier parts, once we notch up some tube up there, is getting that angle to land right back there on those pads. So I'm going to start working on that, trying to figure out the diagrammaticals and the mathematicianals behind that stuff. So the tubes going in the trunk here are actually going to be pretty short, and I'm going to put a bend in it, I think. Otherwise, it's going to be at such a sharp angle from the sideways view, you know what I'm saying, to weld around that. I think it would kind of be a mess. So I'm going to put like a 45 bend before it drops into that plate there. Gonna try this notching machine here out. Yeah, that's a lot faster. While these are drying up, we'll go ahead and make that harness bar. That's the bar that goes across here that the harness belts actually wrap around. And there's quite a bit of a process to this actually, and you have to have the seats in to do it correctly. If you throw this bar in and you don't have a relation to your seats, the degrees on the shoulder belts can be off, and that's actually really dangerous. So I spent a good 45 minutes in here getting the brackets of the seats in, alignment, we had to get leg length, all that, and then height, made sure we had room for helmet, everything like that. And I had to split the difference because I would be back a little bit farther, but my buddy who's driving this, Chad, is a lot shorter. So I kind of split the difference there. The nice thing about these brackets is when he's done, I could just unbolt everything, slide it back, bolt it back in. To figure out the degrees on the harness, what I did was ran this through the back of the seat where the belts go, and then you want it between 0 and 20 degrees. And 10 is like the optimalizationals on that.
And basically with the seats in, I put a nick in the bar over here, right there. This is where our bars got to be for it to be safe. So that's where we're going to put ours. Once we get that in, then we'll go ahead and weld in those bars, and the cage is completely done. Then we can move on to actually bolting in the seats for good. Bars are primered, painted, dry, ready to go in. I think I'm actually going to put the trunk bars in first. That way I can get the welds up around the headliner better. Then I'll burn that guy in. You know, I don't fit anywhere. Well, that's what that bar looks like with that little bend on it. And it looks a lot better, and then you get a much better weld all the way around that thing. We were trying to get more heat on the rig and less water dripping on it. We failed on both accounts, but it was worth the shot anyway. There we go. Got a little bit of elbow room back, you know. I think I am gonna take a time out though. It's messier than divorce court in here, and I can't find nothing. Then I'll dig the seats out wherever they went, show you what we got. My whole life with race cars, I've always just sorted seats by price, high to low, and then pick the cheapest, you know, of course. Sometimes I go for a color flavor, but sort by cheapest. And for tracks, that's fine. You're typically in and out of the car really quick. Comfort is not really anything that you're looking for. It's just safety and fitment. But with the drag and drive event, it's completely different because you need that safety factor for going down the track. But also comfort would be nice because you're going hundreds and hundreds of miles in a noisy, loud car with no air conditioning and you name it. So seats like Independence, not so good for this type of event. So I'm going to do the right thing and leave those be, but I'm not going to make the same mistake on this car. What I actually did this time was called up RaceQuip and said, help me pick a seat and belts, you name it. And we ended up with this nice composite seat. It's got shoulder and hip bolsters. Biggest thing, there's a whole lot of padding in this thing. Even my shop lion, you can see, likes to sleep in this thing already. But they were nice enough to help me pick a seat, and then of course they help you get the right brackets for the seat and the right belts and everything, and it all showed up on a pallet for me. So, and keep in mind that this was my daily driver up until we tore into it, and when it's done, it probably will be one of my daily drivers again. So having a nice, comfortable seat like this is important for a guy. My back is just, it's getting shot, fellers. You know what I mean? Yep. Oh, he does. Oh, yeah. Yep, guy back there coming from the fridge. I like your style. Anyway, I already mocked one side up when we were putting the roll bar in and all that. So let's go ahead and bang some holes through the floor, get one seat bolted in, and just hook our peepers into it, see what it looks like. Okay, Mr. Squishy, let's go. So you can see all my detailed calculations in here. And what I mean by that is just paint marker just slammed in with the left hand. When I do seat fitments, I just go caveman on it. Get the seat sitting where I need it as far as leg length. Get her centered in the, you know, from the thingy to the hump in the center of the vehicle thing. And then I draw a line around that. Then I come back in and figure out, RaceQuip has these nice brackets and gives you a bunch of different heights, and you can tilt on it and do all sorts of stuff. Then I figure that out where I want to be. And then I kind of come back and make, you know, blotches where you gotta zing zing, throw some holes in here. And I guess I'm gonna try to remember which one of these 17 holes is the 4 that I need for my right configuration. Great. Seat bracketry is in. That went pretty quick. I just got the seat loosely sitting in here so I could figure out the location of my submarine strap. I usually like to go through this piece right here because you got this top part, the actual floor, and then there's like a brace piece on the bottom. So you're going through a good chunk of metal. And then you don't really have to plate this one, but the lap belts on both sides, you should have a big steel plate or a big washer or something under your belts so they just don't rip through there. And then this is that relationship we were talking about earlier between here and the bar. The seat's gonna go up a little bit, but that's that degrees is from here to there. Keep a guy safe. You don't want it really down here or up there. I don't know. There's science involved. It's not good. Bracketry is in. Also have all the hooks for the belts in. Those are crudely taped off, and the sills, because I'm going to come in here with some rubber undercoating now and take care of all these little pinholes, and then where the seam seal is kind of worn away, especially like over there, and our new patch panel, get a thick coat of that down, like an 1/8 inch of it, and that'll seal everything up and maybe cut down on the road noise. I don't know, 2.7 decibels. I think that's how you read wind and sound. And then I got to come back and reshoot these jams. I got a little bit of overspray and stuff in them, but we'll do that after all this dries. There we go. That stuff covers so nicely. Same stuff I use in the trunk. Does take quite a bit of while to dry, especially if you put a couple layers on it. So this is going to take a few hours. I'll probably just call it a night, and in the morning we'll come back and throw the seats in and get these belts in. Well, it is now currently the following morning. Floor's all dry. Let's go ahead and pop these seats in. Well, here is the truth of moments if this bracketry went in correctly. Got a tight fit, which that's a good thing. Get this first bolt in here. All black interior. Looking pretty snazzy, if I must say so myself. That looks like a much more comfortable ride than Independence. Maybe someday we'll upgrade the seats. Nope, we'll keep the cheap ones. Time to get the belts in really quick. Obviously it's gonna be just a wrap around here, and then we've got hooks. These guys here just snap into place, and that'll be for the Dolphin submarine-ish between the legger and then the hips. That should go pretty darn quick here. Race Quip belts, like I mentioned earlier, and I'm moving to this cam lock style because, man, it is a lot faster. I'm used to the old hook and latch, but it's pretty clumsy getting in and out of those. These, you just plug them in to get in and then just swing this latch either way. Boof, blows apart. Just a quick tip here, fellers. Anytime you're putting in harnesses, make sure to read, the guys that made the thing and designed it are going to tell you how to properly wrap this around bars, or if you're doing a weld in, or if you're putting it through some sort of clip or anchor. Just pay attention to this, fellers, because I just don't want any of you getting hurt. Dang it, it ain't worth it. Can't tell you how many times I walk past cars and see this, which looks right, but there's one more step yet. Through the buckle, through your device, back through the buckle. This needs to come back around and go through this again, this way, so it looks like that on all of your devices. Jessica's gonna go ahead and start peeling tape off. Looking at the forecast, we're never gonna get the weather I need to put a couple more coats on this. So I might just have to spray bomb it here and there where the filler's showing through and just get this wrap on. So I'll let her do the fun part.
It's pretty satisfying.
Slack on the shoulder straps here, I just roll them backwards and then zip tie it through the main loop, right through the center of these, and that'll hold all that slack in place. You have to jump in and out a couple times to get it fitting right, but got that done for this one. I'll just copy it to that side, and then of course whoever rides in it will just make adjustments, and there's plenty of slack to do that on all the different parts. Gonna catch up on the old list here. Strip interior, that's done. Bodywork done. Mini spool, roll bar, seats, belts, plugs. The only thing left is shifter with the question mark, and I think we're gonna cancel that one out. The only thing left is the part all of you have been waiting for, is the wrap. Guy can scoot this into Nashville and have that put on. There are a lot of good guesses as to what livery we were gonna go on this thing, but let me tell you what, all of you are wrong. Coming up next, you guys are gonna watch a one-of-a-kind wrap go on this car, straight out of my brain, designed by Prime and put on by wrap artists in Nashville. And I promise you, you guys are you're gonna like it.
Thanks guys for watching, appreciate it very much. Stay tuned, we'll see you very soon.